Here we are in Heathcote, doing a regional tasting for Wine Wise magazine, and I'm here with wine writer and local winemaker Nick Stock. Now, Nick, how long ago did you start making wine in Heathcote?
10 years ago.
10 years ago?
Yeah.
And what drew you to the area?
I think it was an opportunity to, I thought the wines had exciting potential, and it was an opportunity to get involved in a region that has some amazing soils, very old soils, but as far as the culture and the style, agenda and whatnot, it was still very much up for grabs and still very young, and I think it was really exciting. So yeah, that's certainly what drew me to it.
Okay, and what are you focusing on in Heathcote with your wines?
Really focusing on Shiraz, and have in more recent years started to do some work with Mourvèdre, and also making a rosé, which we're making out of Mourvèdre as well, which has been really quite successful. Yep. Yes, I mean, as far as whites go for the region, I think that's still a puzzle that's a fair way from being solved. And it's interesting to see things like Fiano and whatnot being planted and explored, and Moscato Giallo and things like that. So I think there's a lot more work to be done with whites, but reds, we know Shiraz really does work. I think there's a lot of potential with Mourvèdre, and certainly the work I've done with it and the wines I've made, I've been really happy with. Just it's the way it deals with what can be a fairly warm, fairly dry sort of finish to the season. It's a variety that's just custom made to deal with those sorts of conditions. Mm-hmm. And then things like Sangiovese, I think there's potential for. Tempranillo, I've seen potential for. So yeah, but I think that vine age is also an issue up here. So if you're working with Shiraz, you can often work with some slightly more mature vines. Mm-hmm. The other things are still often very, very young. But I think one of the reasons I started making wine here was as a wine writer, tasting a lot of wines, seeing the odd one that I really liked, but then seeing a lot of wines that sort of were very sort of me too in style, and people looking at one or two labels without naming names that had been very well received, critically acclaimed, were charging high prices, and then went out to sort of make a very ripe style, use a lot of oak, but make a blockbuster sort of wine. And for me, it just was missing the point. I think the thing that's unique about Heathcote Shiraz is there's a vitality and there's a vibrancy in the fruit. There's a fleshiness. It's very expressive. Has lovely blue fruit, sort of flavours, and you do get the spice. And again, the spice can sort of come in and out of focus depending on whether it's a cooler or warmer season. But so the red wines I'm making are all about trying to capture that vitality, that vibrant sort of character, which is what I taste in the vineyard. And I think there's increasingly, there are more and more producers that are thinking along those lines in Heathcote Shiraz in particular.
Okay, so we've sort of basically talked about what you see as being sort of typical Heathcote Shiraz characters just now. What about Mourvèdre? I mean, there's it's a very interesting, people are gaining interest in, I think, in the varietal. What do you see the cues, if you like, in a Heathcote Mourvèdre? What do you think it shows, and what could it potentially do?
Well, it's still very, very early days, but in the wines that I've made, I have managed to get a certain sort of black, stony, dark, minerally sort of character. And also a garrigue, sort of, like a little bit of wild herbs, those sorts of things, which I think are signs that the variety is happy growing here. But my intuitive response, and very much what I do as a winemaker, is not based on being trained as a winemaker, because I'm not. It's based on having tasted a lot of wine and been to a lot of wineries. But intuitively, I think it works really well as a player in a blended red style, and Shiraz is obviously the logical choice as a partner. And what I'm interested in doing that is trying to make wines that actually taste like Heathcote. And I don't like to get too obsessed with the variety or what each variety is doing or what each variety is tasting like. I'm actually more interested in making wines that really taste like the region. And I think blending Mourvèdre and Shiraz together is a good way to go about sort of discovering what that regional character is. And you know, for me, that actually makes it, you know, really quite exciting.
Indeed.
One of the interesting things too, which I'm sure come up in the tastings you do, is whether the use of whole bunches in Shiraz in particular is the way to go in the region. And it's something I started looking at quite seriously in around 2005, and I find that the sort of if you're picking fruit whilst it's vibrant, you get the aromatic sort of acceleration on the nose in the wines. You get that sort of lift and that whole bunch fragrance, and you get a complex aromatic younger wine. And then you do sort of, you know, working with younger vines, if there's something you'd wish for, you'd always wish for a bit more tannin. And so you also, you know, with using whole bunches, you do get an extra sort of, what I describe as like it's like a double wrap of tannin, you know, you just lock everything together a little bit more.
A bit more intrigue to the wine when it's in its young stage.
Absolutely. And the other thing I also do is quite long macerations, so up to you know, sort of 35 up towards 40 days sometimes, and I think you know, it sort of just gives you a chance to get as much as you can out of the fruit, but in a way that's quite gentle, and you build the wine in layers. So, you know, I think it's an exciting region, and hopefully the you know, the Wine Wise tasting's been an exciting tasting.
Yes, certainly the reds have come through.
Yeah, well, that's what you expect.
They're definitely coming through, and 2010's looking good.
Yeah, great vintage. 2010 is I mean, it was a really terrific vintage for the region.
Yeah. So lots to look forward to in Heathcote.
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Deb. Thanks very much.